That's a support player. Decent positioning, dead before he fired a shot. If you play support and you feel stuck in your rank no matter what you do, this might be why. I've coached almost 100 students. The pattern in gold through diamond support mains is the same every time. People think support means babysitting the team with utility, so they spend every round with abilities in their hand, looking for the perfect moment to flash or recon or smoke, and they forget they're playing a shooter. Today, we are fixing that. I'll walk you through when each support role should be actually using abilities, when your gun should be out instead, and why in ranked specifically, a kill is worth way more than almost any ability you throw. Let me start with the part most support players will fight me on. Valorant is a tactical shooter, I know you know that, but I want to show you what prioritizing utility over the shooter actually looks like in a real game. Picture this, attack side, heaven, you're the Sova. Your team is pushing C. They have crossed the corridor. They're stacked at the end, waiting for an enemy smoke to fade before they explode onto site. You decide to drone just before the smoke fades out. Team exploded onto site, without you while you're on your drone. Your team has 4 players instead of 5 on site because you're still FK droning when you should actually be fighting with them to get site control. That's the pattern. It's you separating yourself from the team to use utility. It's calling a flash for the perfect moment instead of being close enough to trade. It's setting up the ideal play while your team is already fighting without you. Utility first, present second, and that's the wrong order, especially in ranked. Abilities are worth exactly as much as your team can convert off them. A perfect KO flash at champions wins the round because players swing it together. Instantly, every single time. A perfect KO flash in Gold 2 won't have the same impact because players won't be able to coordinate. The flash is wasted. On the other side, a kill is never wasted. 5-on-4 is 5-on-4 whether you're Iron or Radiant. Watch these 2 clips. Left side, I throw a textbook pop flash. My duelist picks alone and dies. Right side, I play close to my duelist and as I flash, we pick together. The point is this. Every second you spend repositioning for perfect utility usage is a second you're not where your team actually needs you, which is right next to them, gun up, ready to trade. So the question becomes, when should you actually have utility out? The part that catches people off guard when I work through this with students is this. Playing more selfishly with your gun actually helps your team more than trying to help them with abilities. Because now, when the fight happens, your body can actually shoot. The framework I'm about to give you is called ability windows, and they're exactly what they sound like. Specific moments in the round when using your utility make sense. Outside those moments, prioritize your gun over your abilities. Windows open, use utility. Window close, gun out. The windows are different for every role, and they're different on attack versus defense. So let me walk you through them for each support role, starting with initiators. Initiators aren't one role, they're 3. Revealers, flashers, and heartbeats. Revealers are Sova and Fade. Their job is information. Flashers are KO and Breach. Their job is blinding or stunning so duelists can take space. Hybrids are Gekko, Skye, Tejo. They do a bit of both, and the rule for them is simple. Whatever ability you're throwing, follow the window for that ability type. Skye's Flash follows the Flasher rules. Skye's Dog follows the Revealer rule. You will see what I mean. Let me do Revealer first. On attack, Revealers have 2 windows. Window 1 is the start of the round. If you have a game plan, throw your recon immediately, don't hesitate. You're not going to get value out of a Sova arrow you held for 30 seconds because you were overthinking. Window 2 is the pre-execute. When your team is stacking to push a site, that's when your arrow and shock darts go out, before anyone steps foot onto the site. Clear the space, break the trips, then gun out. And this is the part most people miss. Once you have thrown utility, you swing with the team and rifle up. Watch that sequence. Arrow goes out before he steps in. Rifle is in his hand by the time he actually picks the angle. On defense, it's different. And this is where I see new Sova and Fade players throw away rounds constantly. Do not use your recon instantly at the start of a defense round. I know it feels productive, I know you want to contribute, but it's better to wait 3 seconds, sometimes 5. Because your job on defense is to gather information that helps your team rotate. And if you arrow A instantly, but the attackers are pushing B, you have got no utility left. 3 seconds of patience, listen, check the minimap. If you see 5 players mid, do not arrow A long. You already know there is no one there. If you see a clear commit onto C, don't waste an arrow. Save it for the retake. So revealers on defense have 3 windows total. First one is the delayed start round use. Second is mid round. Around 1:10 on the clock is a good rule of thumb. If you don't have info and your team has no idea where the enemies are, That's when you use utility to clear space. Either drone a new area or recheck a space where you last heard the enemies. Third is the retake. Same rule as attack. Throw everything before the retake starts. Swing with the rifle. I had a student, Ascendant 2, playing on Sova. We watched one of his games together and he was throwing his utilities at the wrong timings, every single round. We changed 3 things, worked on his utility usage, his presence in gunfights and basic mechanical skills, and in the next act he got to Immortal 2. Flashers work differently from revealers because they don't need information to act. They just need space to fight for. On both attack and defense, a flasher can act instantly at the start of the round. You're not reacting to enemies, you're creating space. You're flashing out with your duelists to take mid, you're standing an angle so your team can push up together. Whether enemies are there or not doesn't really change the play. Their second window is more situational. You don't always need to fight for space, but when your team does an execute an attack, a retake or defense, your flashes go out before anyone crosses the chalk. Hybrids follow whichever rule matches the ability you're using. Skye Dog, a revealer rule. Wait for info on defense, use it with a plan on attack. Skye Flash, flasher rule. Act fast, create space. The rule is the same one you already know, just apply it to each ability individually. Moving to controllers, the smokers. This role confuses people the most. On attack, you have one big window, the execute. When your team is about to push a side, your smoke goes up, that's it. Without your smoke, your team cannot push out of main without getting shredded from every angle on side. Outside that window on attack, you can use your other abilities however you want. On defense, smokers have no fixed windows. You're reacting. Start round if your team has a specific setup in mind, maybe you want to smoke mid so your duelist can take a fight, throw it. Outside of that, your job is to smoke reactively. And this is where people mess up. Don't smoke the second you hear one footstep. One guy on A could be a fake. Once you're confident, then you throw smokes. Same rule on retakes. If you have got a smoke you can use to block an entrance the attackers push to make the retake easier for your team, throw it before the retake starts, not during it. Last role, Sentinel. Sentinels are the pace keepers. Your role value comes from setting up spaces and holding them with passive information. On attack, your window is narrow. You have basically one job at the start of the round, set up your utility. Place your trips, drop your turret. If you time it right, your utility is out of your hands within the first 15 seconds of the round, and you spend the rest of it playing the shooter with everything else your team does. Some setups you do before the barrel drops, some you do right after the barrel drops, because you want a more aggressive placement. The critical thing here, and I see Sentinels throw games over this constantly, is that you don't need to die early as a Sentinel. You are the one providing passive information for your team. If you die in the first 15 seconds, all that space and all that info disappears with you. So your early round job is just set up, stay alive, and play with your gun. Second window on attack is post-plan. If you have got utility, you use it to make the retake harder. Turret covering a chalk, Killjoy molly on the spike, Cypher trip on a flank angle. But the timing matters. You set that up after the site is clear, while your team is planting or just after, not during the fight. On defense, Sentinels have exactly one window, before the round starts. Your whole job is to have your kit placed before attackers push, so that when the fight happens, you're ready to play off your setup with your gun out. Done right, you almost never have utility in your hands during a fight. Quick note before we move on, if you want me to actually watch your gameplay and tell you what's going wrong, that's what the Melu 6 Club is built around. You submit a ranked VOD, I review it live during one of our bi-weekly sessions, and you get the full recording and notes. If you're there live, you can also hop on stage and basically become a one-on-one while everyone else is watching and learns. Link is in the description. Alright, back to it. So you have got the windows down. Utility goes up at a specific moments, the rest of the time you're playing the shooter. The next piece is the part that actually wins ranked games, playing with your teammates. Valorant is a game of trades, nothing matters more than this. When your teammate dies, if you can kill the person who killed them, it's a clean trade. When your teammate dies and nobody can refrag, you just lost a player for nothing. Your job as a player is to always be in a position where you can trade your teammates, or they can trade you. Too far back, your duelist dies and you cannot refrag him. Too far forward without support, you die and nobody can trade you. A lot of support players use their abilities without considering the fact that they need to be close to the team and ready to swing out with them. Look, if you have to take only one thing from this video, take this one. Most support players obsess over their utility usage and completely ignore the positioning. Fix the positioning, the utility will take care of itself. The tool that makes all of this possible is the minimap. If you're not looking at your minimap constantly, you have no idea where your team is. And if you don't know any of that, you cannot play with them. But someone might say, every time I look at the minimap, I die. And I get it, it feels risky. here's the habit that fixes it. Every time you hear a sound cue, you take a quick glance at the minimap. The sound tells you something happened, the minimap tells you where. Pair them together and you build a picture of the round that most gold and plat players just don't have. One rule: don't check the minimap when you're actively holding an angle. Try to wait for when you're somewhat safe. Obviously, there are moments where you break this rule. Knowing when to break the rule is its own skill, and it comes with reps. Don't overthink it. Sound cue, glance at minimap, back to the game. Build the habit, and in 2 weeks your decision making will be night and day. So let me tie all this up together. Support roles are not support roles the way most people think about them. You are not a flash dispenser, you are not a smoke bot, you are a shooter with extra tools. The utility exists to help you win gunfights. It is not a replacement for winning them. Use your abilities in their windows: start of round, pre-execute, retake, whether your role calls for. Outside those windows, prioritize having the gun out in your hand, minimap in your peripheral region, and standing close enough to your team to trade and be traded. Do that for a week, and you will stop feeling like you have no impact. You will start being the player who decides rounds. Coaching community link is in the description if you want to go deeper.